OSHA's 29 CFR 1910 Subpart Q sets forth comprehensive safety standards for welding, cutting, and brazing activities to protect workers from potential hazards associated with these processes. Key aspects of the regulations include: employers must ensure that welding, cutting, and brazing are carried out in safe environments with properly maintained equipment. Personal protective equipment, PPE, like helmets, gloves, and respiratory protection must be used to protect workers from heat, sparks, and fumes. Fire extinguishing equipment must be accessible, and fire watch personnel should be present when necessary. Proper procedures must be followed when handling, storing, and using fuel gases and oxygen cylinders to avoid leaks, explosions, or fire. Cylinders must be regularly inspected and protected against heat and physical damage. Only authorized personnel should conduct gas welding and cutting, and appropriate signage should indicate that the area is in use. All arc welding equipment must be regularly inspected, maintained, and operated according to the manufacturer's guidelines. Electrodes, cables, and other conductive parts should be isolated from contact to prevent accidental electric shock. Ventilation must be provided to remove harmful fumes and gases, and suitable protective clothing must be worn to avoid burns. The setup must include adequate shielding to prevent accidental contact with live parts and to avoid sparks and spatter. Operators should be trained on the specific safety requirements for resistance welding and the use of appropriate guards and controls. Operators must be aware of the hazards associated with different fluxes used in brazing and soldering. Adequate ventilation is crucial to ensure harmful fumes are effectively removed. Confined spaces: special care is required when performing welding, cutting, or brazing in confined spaces to ensure proper ventilation and prevent gas buildup. Fire hazards: flammable materials should be cleared from the area, and fire watches must be maintained during and after the work. Employers are required to provide training for all workers engaged in welding, cutting, or brazing operations to recognize potential hazards and follow appropriate safety practices. These standards ensure that welding, cutting, and brazing operations are conducted safely, with workers equipped and informed to minimize the risks of burns, fires, explosions, and exposure to toxic fumes. Compliance with Subpart Q helps maintain a safer working environment and reduces incidents in these potentially hazardous operations.